Good evening, everyone. I think the biggest challenge I had was to answer the brief, and that was how do you summarize a 50-year career in 5 minutes? I wrote my first draft and it ended up like a book. So I threw it away and started from scratch again. Patrick Low started his career in advertising in the late 1970s. It was a very different time then. There were over 150 ad agencies in Singapore, no holding companies. Ad agencies earned 17.65 markup on everything. Clients knew how to conduct a pitch. They didn't have to pay a third party to organize one. There were no color pages in the newspaper, and multinational ad agencies were largely run by non-colored management boards. Patrick began as a finished artist in the studio of a small but exciting agency called Fortune. While his artwork was immaculately finished, his career had just started. I first met Patrick in 1982 when I interned at Ogilvy and Mather. I was a teenager then, at my most annoying phase, always asking questions. Patrick was the art half of a young dynamic duo, but he was also the only one who was patient enough and took time to answer my questions. I learned about the creative process just by observing how he worked. Pat was quick, fast with his layouts. But you know what? As a friend of mine once said, his gift was that he was a writer at heart. He was fast, super fast, faster than his partner. And this was how Patrick guided me and so many other young people who later went on to manage and lead other ad agencies like Rowena, some of whom are also here tonight. We all owe him an incredible debt of gratitude. Back in the early 80s, Patrick was one of the first Singaporean creatives to fly the Singapore flag at a one show. He showed that a small island could punch well above its weight. In 1987, he joined Dentsu Young and Rubicam, and soon he was promoted to ECD and began an over 2-decade creative leadership there. His career was built upon an impressive body of work. He has also helped many other creatives build their careers. In that time, he created a culture that made EY&R a bit of a local legend. By winning new businesses at a pitch win rate, which was among the highest in the global Y&R network, and by retaining blue chip accounts for decades, repitch after repitch after repitch, Patrick was trusted by senior clients, respected by competitors, and he influenced generations of commercial directors and DOPs when he gave them all their first break. Patrick outlasted many agency CEOs, client CEOs, CMOs, and after he left in 2010, even outlasted DY&R itself. Not a fan of global corporate politics, long meetings, and meaningless KPIs, he founded Goodfellas. Thanks to the support of his long-standing clients who value his professionalism and creativity, Goodfellas is now in its 15th year of operation in a much different world. Winning pitches against network agencies and still collecting awards is a habit he developed and he can't stop. If practice makes perfect, imagine how good he is with over 5 decades of experience under his cap. Patrick has created thousands of ads, hundreds of commercials, and won hundreds of awards. But this is not about that. The Lifetime Achievement Award isn't given simply by doing your day job well. It's certainly not given because you got a good life balance. You get the Lifetime Achievement Award for doing the things outside agency hours, the things that matter, the things that are needed to raise the bar. And many of them are thankless tasks. But you know what? they improve the industry. Patrick is chairman on the board of governors of Temasek Polytechnic School of Design and vice chairman of the Institute of Technical Education's Design and Media Academic Advisory Committee. But to my mind, all this is not as important to the one brave, courageous act he did in the 90s. And this, I believe, is the most important contribution he made to change the direction of local advertising from a dangerous cause to a much better one. There was a time when the local Creative Circle Awards was decided by a handful of foreign judges. These, albeit accomplished judges, usually mates of that year's chairman, were flown into Singapore at considerable cost, stayed at the best hotels, and ended giving a huge bar tab for the entire 4As to pay. Why was that so? This was already in the 1980s. This was already in the 1990s. We had progressed up the entire chart, yet we still depended on foreign validation. That was because the belief was that while Singapore's work was still winning awards overseas, the work couldn't be good unless someone from abroad said that they were good. We still had this colonial crutch that we needed foreign validation. It was such a disconnect with the reality that led to a campaign, a creative campaign nevertheless, for a coffee shop winning all the top prizes in the 1992 CCA. Many larger agencies saw that it was such an obvious need for awards campaign, and it saw it as an affront to the real work and threatened to boycott future CCAs. 2 award cycles passed unorganized. There wasn't even a CCA annual to celebrate that year's work. It was at its darkest night. To be fair, we didn't see it then, but this was an existential threat to the future of CCA in Singapore. It was during its darkest days when the 4As approached Patrick to take on the responsibility as the next and first local chairman of the CCA. Patrick was the perfect candidate for the job. Every agency head liked him, respected his creds, and they all voted in favor of his appointment. He had no ulterior motive, so he did what he believed was long overdue. To save the CCA, Patrick assembled for the first time a judging panel of Singapore's 15 most awarded creatives. A mixed body of judges which included both local and expatriates who had worked in Singapore. Patrick believed that the best people to judge what was the best work wasn't a foreigner who just flew in for a week. The best creative judges were the people who lived and worked here. They were senior professionals who understood the market and the people and the culture. They made them the best arbiters of what real work was being done by who and in the marketplace. This change was also what Ian Beatty believed needed to happen. And Beatty Ads, Singapore's largest ad agency, then showed its support by entering the CCA for the first time. At the end of the day, the 1995 CCA was the true coming of age of our industry. Singapore finally had the confidence to judge for ourselves and to celebrate our industry. There's no way I can adequately summarize Patrick's 50 years of achievements in a speech. Our industry is obsessed with youth, with annual lists of the best 40 under 40. But Patrick always said that a career in advertising isn't a sprint, but a marathon. And he just celebrated his 70th birthday 2 weeks ago. So it's fitting that I present to you this year's Lifetime Achievement Award. The only ad man over 70 who is still running with footballers 1/3 his age on a padang. But when it comes off the pitch, he can give us all a run for our money. Ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Lowe.